Now in Anglia, and for the last time in the present series, Bob Monkhouse puts the $64,000 question.
With TV's biggest cash prize, it's the $64,000 question. And here's the master of the quiz, Bob Monkhouse.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, 64,000 welcomes to you from the show that's got the whole country asking one question. When's he going to stop saying 64,000 welcomes to you all? The answer is tonight, because it's sadly the final show of our series. And there they are, our very last lineup. There they sit, our trio for tonight, sitting in the think tank awash with trivia and trepidation. Last week, Sheila Altree, a lab technician from Devon, won our basic 64. Tonight, she's back to try for 800 and possibly 1,600 with her knowledge of Greek mythology. Paul Hammett-Lebrun, a doctor of medicine, last week won £800 on the subject of the solar system. He's back to try for 16, too. And Paul Campion, the former department store buyer turned author, is back to try and break through the 3,200 barrier, answering questions on Enrico Caruso. Hopefully, go to the big 64. Let's wish them all a lucky night. As I've said, this is the last show in this third series, so the producer took me and my wife out for a celebration dinner last night. This swanky restaurant. The 5 Seasons. I thought, why 5? Then I tasted the soup and realized they were including monsoon. Waiter. I said, I'd like a sweet sherry. He said, if I may, I'd suggest monsieur should have a dry fly. I said, why? He said, you just spilt the soup in your lap. Sarcastic. I said, never mind all that, waiter. I'd like the crab toasted. He raised a glass of wine to my wife and said, your health, madame. And when the meal came, I couldn't eat it. I said, you can take this fish back to the chef and tell him where to stick it. And he said, I'm sorry, there's a steak and 2 lamb chops ahead of you. So, well, I'll accept that. Parting gift. Most children are fascinated by legends and myth stories of weird, forgotten creatures. Ollie Beak, Basil Brush, Roland Rat. Bill Oddie. Our next player carried that fascination on to later life. A 48-year-old lab technician from Bristow, and her particular study is the myths of ancient Greece, and she's back now to try and earn £800 with her knowledge of those myths. Let's give a legendary welcome, then, to Sheila Altree. Walking like a model. Just step up there. You make me feel so tall and masculine. Because you are petite.
Well, yes.
Gosh. I had a girlfriend once who was shorter than you. Had mud flaps on her knickers. Where do you work, Sheila?
In a laboratory in Oakhampton.
What do you do in the laboratory?
Oh, I set up experiments and wash up after them.
Do you actually do the experiments?
Sometimes.
Gosh, when I was at school, I didn't enjoy experiments in the science lab. The experiments I enjoyed were behind the science lab. Happy memories of the school cert. I wonder where she is now. Are you ready for £100?
Yes.
Then I'd like to give it to you. All you have to do is answer this question. Who sailed to Colchis in search of the Golden Fleece?
Jason.
Jason, and the Argonauts is correct for £100. For £200, I'm going to ask you a 2-part question about a single legend illustrated here. Please look at the screen. In the first part, this nymph fell in love with a beautiful youth, but because she was rejected, she pined away until only her voice remained. Name the nymph.
Echo.
Echo it is. And in the second part, the youth himself was punished by Aphrodite and was made to fall in love with his own reflection in the pool. Name the youth.
Narcissus.
Narcissus is correct. You've just won £200. You're a married lady, Sheila?
Yes, indeed. Married to Anthony.
Anthony?
Yes.
What does he do?
He's a toolmaker.
Oh, if you win the big money, I may be on the chisel. For £400, Sheila, I'm going to ask you a 2-part question about daughters of the gods associated with cultivation. In the first part of 2, name the daughter of Kronos and Rhea who was the goddess of corn and patroness of agriculture?
Demeter.
Demeter or Demeter is the correct answer. And in the second part of 2, the daughter of Demeter and Zeus was carried off by Hades to the underworld, where she ate a few pomegranate seeds. For £400, name this girl.
Persephone.
Persephone's right for £400. Well played. Now I have it here, 400. You can take it, Sheila, back to the lab. Temptation.
I'd like to go on, please.
Very good. Here we go then for £800. A 3-part question. Look at the screen, please, Sheila. In the first part of 3, this memorial in London is usually said to represent the Greek god of love. Name him, please.
Eros.
Eros is right, an anagram of Saw. In the second part of 3, this goddess fought the god Poseidon for the land of Attica and won. Name her.
Athena.
Athena. That's correct in the second part. Sheila, in the third part of 3, for £800, figures like this are often seen near fountains. This one represents the son of Poseidon and Amphitrite and was shaped like a fish from the waist down. For £800, tell me his name.
Triton.
Did you say Triton?
I did.
You've just won £800. Yeah, no, you stay where you are. Because I want to tell you that you've got to decide whether to take that £800 or to go on and try and double it at £1,600. If you succeed, the cash will be yours. But if you fail, you'll walk out the door with just 64. It's up to you entirely. What do you want to do? Do you want to give up or go on?
I'd like to go on, please.
Well, it's that £1,600 question that now faces the 65-year-old doctor from Walsall, who, when he's had enough of examining the bodies of his patients, examines the heavenly bodies of our star system. It's the perfect prescription to take him out of this world. So let's learn everything under the sun from Paul Hammett Lebrun. Oh, I like that. That's a handsome bit of stuff, isn't it? How long would it take, forgive my asking something out of the blue, and this is not a question for money.
I understand.
Just for my information. How long would it take images from the Earth to reach Pluto?
Pluto, at the moment, about 4 hours.
So they won't see this program until about gone 11. Yeah, well, I tell you, if you want to phone them and place a bet on what happens, now's the time to do it. Bet on yourself to win. Then if you do, you'll clean up as soon as the Pluto people get here. £1,600, Paul. £1,600. It's a 4-part question. It's about discoveries made by various space probes. I need 4 correct answers for the 1,600, and as you answer, you'll see a picture form on the video wall, and that will be the subject of a key question. First part of 4. On which planet did Mariner 10 photograph the Colores Basin?
Oh, Mercury.
Mercury is correct. In the second part of 4, Viking 2 landed in Utopia in 1976. On which planet is Utopia?
That's the planet Mars.
It is on the planet Mars, Paul. And in the third part of 4, in 1962, Mariner 2 bypassed a planet and showed that the atmosphere was much too hot for water to be present in liquid form. Name the planet.
Oh, Venus.
Venus is correct in the third part. And now in the fourth part of 4, in January 1986, Voyager 2 detected a magnetic field which is very steeply inclined to the spin axis of its planet. For the £1,600, Paul, name the planet.
Jupiter.
Did you say Jupiter?
Yes, sir.
Paul, I'm sorry, the answer is Uranus. I'm sorry, Paul. You're keeping up such a marvelous pace and telling us so much that everyone loves to know. And you're a man of such infinite knowledge about so many things that I'm disappointed that I can only present you with the £64 that you won originally.
That's
and
all right.
the $64,000 money clip.
Thank you.
You're one of the most interesting men I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, and I hope we meet again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Right now, I'm going to turn from one Paul to another. And this Paul is going to tell us more about Enrico Caruso. Caruso was center stage for many great performances, but on our show, all eyes are on a one-time department store buyer currently working on his first book. His love of opera in general, but of Caruso in particular, bring him back to try and go through at 32, and then hopefully one more encore. For Paul Campion. Paul, I'd like you to tell me that it's so. Do Caruso records still sell today?
Very well. A lot have been transferred to CD and they're as popular as ever.
That's marvellous, isn't it?
Wonderful.
Is there anybody with you to support you and cheer you on?
Yes, my oldest friend, Leonora Lawrence, is in the audience.
Well, that's marvellous. Well, Leonora is, I'm sure, wishing you well, as are we all, in order that there will be no distractions to put you off, and so that the only thing you hear is my questions. I must ask you to take your place for the first time tonight in the isolator. If our technical gods are with us, Paul, you should hear only my voice now.
Yes.
For a total prize of £3,200, I'll ask you a five-part question about Caruso's stage performances. I need 5 correct answers, Paul, in the first part of 5. In 1901, in Buenos Aires, Caruso played his only Wagner role. What was it?
It was Lohengrin.
Lohengrin is correct in the first part. In the second part of 5, there were just 3 performances of Lohengrin. What language was used for these performances of Lohengrin in Buenos Aires?
Italian.
Italian is correct in the second part. In the third part, Caruso appeared in the premiere of The Girl of the Golden West. Name the character he played in The Girl of the Golden West.
Dick Johnson.
Dick Johnson, a bandit, is correct in the third part. Now in the fourth part of 5. In April 1904, Caruso went to a certain city to sing in 2 performances of Rigoletto. He never sang in that city again. Which city was it?
It was Barcelona.
Barcelona is correct in the fourth part. In the fifth part of 5, in October 1895, Caruso appeared in 4 different operas at the Esbecchia Gardens. To pass through the barrier of £3,200, Paul, tell me, in which city were the Esbecchia Gardens?
They're in Cairo.
They're in Cairo. You just got the 3,200. Well done, Paul. Well done. Your eyes are twinkling, those blue eyes are twinkling. Let's take and Paul through the £3,200 barrier. Normally we would invite Paul back next week, but as this is our final show in this series, he's agreed to return in part 2 and play for the big one, £6,400. This is the show that wants to give everybody a break, and here's yours. Congratulations.